In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose 15 baby food brands hiding heavy metal contamination, recall histories, and safety failures behind their colorful pouches and organic promises. Plus, I'll reveal the 5 brands that actually test every batch and publish results you can verify yourself. Stay until the end, because number 1 will change how you shop the baby aisle forever. Let's start with what's sitting in your pantry right now. 15 Happy Baby, Happy Family Organics. Starting at number 15, Happy Baby markets itself with cheerful branding and organic certification. But a U.S. House Subcommittee staff report tells a different story. The brand was specifically named in congressional investigation documents that summarized internal company testing, revealing concerns about heavy metals in their baby food products. These weren't random accusations from outsiders. These were the company's own test results, documented and reviewed by federal investigators looking into industry-wide problems. What makes this particularly troubling for parents of older infants and toddlers is that heavy metal exposure during early development can affect growing brains in ways that don't show up until years later. The same congressional report that named Happy Baby also criticized the entire baby food supply chain for having limited standards and inconsistent practices when it comes to controlling heavy metal contamination. You thought you were choosing organic and safe? You were actually buying into a system with gaps big enough to let concerning metals slip through. 14. Beech Nut. At number 14, Beech Nut carries generations of trust, with many of you remembering those little glass jars from your own childhood. But that nostalgic comfort took a serious hit when the brand appeared in the same U.S. House Subcommittee staff report documenting internal testing and heavy metal concerns. Congressional investigators didn't pull these findings from thin air. They reviewed Beech Nut's own data and found reasons for concern. The FDA later posted a company announcement that made the problem concrete and specific. Beech Nut voluntarily recalled one lot of their Stage 1 single-grain rice cereal because testing showed inorganic arsenic levels exceeding federal guidance. Inorganic arsenic is the dangerous form, the kind linked to developmental delays and cognitive impacts in young children. For parents choosing rice cereal as a first food for their 6-month-old babies, this recall represented a fundamental breach of the trust that brand name was supposed to guarantee. When a heritage brand that's been around since the 1800s can't keep arsenic below guidance levels, something is broken in their quality control. 13. Gerber. Coming in at number 13, Gerber dominates American baby food aisles with the kind of market presence that suggests unquestionable safety. That iconic baby face on every package has represented trusted nutrition for nearly a century. But the U.S. House Subcommittee staff report included Gerber in its investigation, naming the brand specifically when summarizing internal testing data and heavy metal concerns across the baby food industry. Beyond the metals investigation, the FDA posted a company announcement about a different but equally concerning safety failure. Gerber recalled and then completely discontinued their Soothe 'n Chew teething sticks because they posed a potential choking hazard. Think about that for a moment. A product specifically designed for babies who are teething, a vulnerable stage when they're putting everything in their mouths, turned out to present a choking risk serious enough that the company pulled it from the market entirely. For parents of babies around 7 to 10 months old, that age when teething hits hard and you're desperate for safe relief options, this recall highlighted how even the biggest, most established brands can fail at the most basic safety requirements. 12. Earth's Best Organic. At number 12, Earth's Best Organic promises exactly what anxious parents seek: certified organic ingredients and a brand philosophy centered on purity. The Heinz Celestial brand built its entire identity on being the cleaner alternative, but the U.S. House Subcommittee staff report didn't care about marketing promises. It named Earth's Best specifically when documenting internal testing and heavy metal concerns that investigators found across the baby food industry. The congressional report went further, describing systematic gaps in how the industry sets consistent limits and standards for heavy metals in baby foods and their ingredients. Earth's Best, despite its organic certification and premium pricing, operated within that same flawed system. The organic label prevents synthetic pesticides but does nothing to stop heavy metals that occur naturally in soil or accumulate through contaminated water sources. Parents paying extra for Earth's Best believed they were buying superior safety, when in reality they were getting organic produce with the same potential heavy metal problems as conventional brands. The trust you placed in that organic label didn't protect your baby the way you thought it would. 11. Plum Organics. At number 11, Plum Organics built a loyal following among health-conscious parents who appreciated the squeezable pouches and organic ingredient lists. Campbell's acquired the brand and continued marketing it as a premium organic option. But the U.S. House Subcommittee staff report included Plum Organics when investigators examined heavy metals concerns across the baby food industry, reviewing internal testing data that raised red flags. Beyond the metals issue, Plum Organics faced a different safety crisis that showed quality control failures. The company issued a voluntary recall of specific pouch products after discovering a manufacturing defect that could cause spoilage in some pouches. For parents, this recall revealed something troubling. The same convenient pouches you love because they seem so modern and clean could hide spoilage that you might not detect until your baby had already eaten contaminated food. Manufacturing defects shouldn't happen when you're producing food for the most vulnerable consumers. The fact that it took company discovery rather than consumer complaints suggests the problem could have affected babies before anyone noticed. 10. Parents' Choice. Walmart. Approaching number 10, Parents' Choice represents the budget-friendly option that millions of families rely on when money is tight. Walmart's private label baby food costs significantly less than name brands, making it the practical choice for parents stretching every dollar. But the U.S. House Subcommittee staff report didn't give budget brands a pass. Parents' Choice was specifically named in the congressional investigation, examining heavy metals concerns across the baby food industry. The FDA made the problem impossible to ignore when it posted a safety alert about Parents' Choice rice baby cereal. The product was recalled due to inorganic arsenic levels exceeding federal guidance, and it was sold exclusively at Walmart stores nationwide. For families who chose Parents' Choice specifically because they needed to save money while still feeding their baby something safe, this recall felt like a betrayal. You were already making sacrifices, already choosing the cheaper option, and that budget brand couldn't even meet basic safety standards for arsenic. The recall highlighted how cost-cutting in baby food production can lead to safety failures that put the most vulnerable families at greatest risk. 9. Sprout Organic Foods. At number 9, Sprout Organic Foods marketed itself as a thoughtful alternative for parents who wanted organic ingredients without the mainstream brand markup. The brand developed a following among parents who appreciated the variety of flavor combinations and the commitment to organic sourcing. But the U.S. House Subcommittee staff report included Sprout when documenting heavy metals concerns across the baby food industry, examining internal testing data that investigators found troubling. The situation escalated from concerning to concrete when the FDA posted a company announcement that made headlines. Sprout Organic Foods voluntarily recalled their baby food pouches due to elevated lead levels, detected in testing. Lead in baby food represents one of the most serious contamination scenarios because there is no safe level of lead exposure for young children. Even small amounts accumulate in developing bodies, potentially affecting brain development, behavior, and learning ability. Parents who chose Sprout thinking they were making a safer organic choice ended up feeding their babies food with lead levels high enough to trigger a federal recall. That's not a minor quality control slip. That's a fundamental failure to protect the consumers who trusted your brand most. 8. Wanabana. At number 8, Wanabana appeared in stores as an affordable option with appealing fruit flavors that babies seem to enjoy. The brand didn't have the long history or premium pricing of established names, but the pouches looked clean and the ingredient lists seemed straightforward. Then the FDA issued an advisory that sent shockwaves through parenting communities. Do not buy or feed Wanabana apple, cinnamon fruit puree pouches due to elevated lead levels. The product was voluntarily recalled, but the damage was done. The FDA investigation page provided more details that made the situation even more alarming. The recalls were tied to elevated lead and chromium levels in cinnamon applesauce pouches, including Wanabana products specifically. Investigators discovered that the contamination came from the cinnamon itself, which had been deliberately adulterated with lead chromate. a toxic compound that gave the spice a more vibrant color and added weight. Someone in the supply chain made a conscious decision to contaminate spice destined for baby food, and Wanabana's quality control didn't catch it before the product reached store shelves and babies' mouths. Parents who chose these pouches because they were affordable and convenient had no way of knowing they were feeding their children intentionally contaminated food. 7. Schnucks cinnamon-flavored applesauce pouches. At number 7, Schnucks private label baby food represented the regional grocery chain's entry into baby food, offering families in the Midwest another budget option. The cinnamon-flavored applesauce pouches seemed innocent enough, combining two ingredients babies typically love. But the FDA investigation page listed certain Schnucks cinnamon-flavored applesauce pouches and variety packs as subject to recall in the cinnamon applesauce contamination incident. The FDA incident response page documented the federal agency's post-incident testing and response activities tied to these recalls, revealing the scope of the problem. Multiple brands had sourced contaminated cinnamon from the same supplier, and Schnucks products ended up feeding babies lead and chromium without anyone realizing until children started showing elevated blood lead levels. For families who shopped at Schnucks and trusted their regional grocer's private label as a safe, affordable choice, this recall represented a betrayal of community trust. You weren't buying from some faceless corporation. You were buying from your neighborhood grocery store, and they still couldn't protect your baby from contaminated ingredients. 6. Weis cinnamon applesauce pouches. At number 6, Weis private label baby foods serve families across the Mid-Atlantic region who appreciated having affordable options at their local grocery store. The cinnamon applesauce pouches were a staple in many households, an easy snack that babies enjoyed and parents felt good about offering. But the FDA investigation page listed certain Weis cinnamon applesauce pouches as subject to recall in the same cinnamon applesauce contamination incident that affected multiple brands. The FDA incident response page documented extensive testing and response activities tied to these recalls, showing how federal investigators worked to track down every contaminated batch and remove it from stores. But that response came after babies had already consumed the pouches, after lead and chromium had already entered small bodies still developing critical systems. For parents who chose Weis specifically because it was their trusted local grocery chain's brand, the recall shattered assumptions about private label safety. You thought buying from a regional chain meant more oversight and care, but the same supply chain vulnerabilities that affected national brands put your baby at risk too. 5. Good & Gather Baby, Target. At number 5, Good & Gather Baby represented Target's premium private label entry into baby food, marketed with clean design and quality promises that matched the retailer's upscale image. Parents shopping at Target already felt like they were making better choices, and the Good & Gather line seemed to confirm that instinct. But the FDA issued a Class 2 recall referenced in a public health recall notice for Good & Gather baby pea, zucchini, kale, and thyme vegetable puree due to elevated lead levels. News coverage provided additional details referencing FDA classification and distribution information that showed how widely the contaminated product had spread before the recall. For parents who specifically chose Target over discount stores because they believed the quality would be higher, this recall felt like a particularly cruel deception. You paid Target prices, you trusted Target's brand curation, and you ended up with the same lead contamination problems as budget store brands. The vegetable combination sounded so wholesome and carefully designed, but elevated lead levels meant your efforts to feed your baby nutritious vegetables came with toxic metal exposure instead. 4. GreenWise, Publix. At number 4, GreenWise represented Publix's commitment to organic and natural products, giving Southern families a store-brand organic option they could trust. The brand carried the reputation of Publix itself, a grocery chain known for quality and customer service. But the FDA posted a company announcement that disrupted that trust. Publix voluntary recall of GreenWise pear, kiwi, spinach, and pea baby food pouch due to elevated lead levels. Consumer recall bulletins listed specific identifying details, including product numbers and best buy dates for the recalled GreenWise pouches, helping parents determine if they'd purchased contaminated products. For families who chose Greenwise specifically because it offered organic ingredients at better prices than national organic brands, this recall revealed that organic certification provides no protection against heavy metal contamination. The pear, kiwi, spinach, and pea combination sounded like exactly the kind of nutrient-dense food you wanted to feed your baby. But elevated lead levels meant that nutritious blend came with serious contamination. You trusted Publix's reputation and paid extra for organic, and neither protected your baby from toxic metals. 3. Once Upon a Farm. Claiming the number 3 spot, Once Upon a Farm built its brand identity around fresh, cold-pressed organic products stored in the refrigerated section rather than shelf-stable pouches. The premium positioning and farm-fresh marketing created an image of superior quality that justified significantly higher prices. Parents who bought Once Upon a Farm believed they were giving their babies the absolute best available. But reports emerged of a recall for Once Upon a Farm organic plant-rich meal, curried carrots and beans, due to potential Listeria monocytogenes contamination, with details published by the FDA. Additional reporting provided product identifiers and listed the impacted states where contaminated products had been distributed. Listeria represents one of the most dangerous forms of food contamination for babies because it can cause serious illness, meningitis, and even death in young children with developing immune systems. The cold-pressed fresh approach that made Once Upon a Farm seem superior actually created additional contamination risks that shelf-stable processing would have eliminated. You paid premium prices for fresh and organic and ended up with potential bacterial contamination that traditional processing methods prevent. 2. Lesser Evil Lil Puffs. Coming in at number 2, Lesser Evil Lil Puffs appealed to parents seeking organic toddler snacks made from alternative ingredients like cassava instead of conventional grains. The brand name itself suggested a healthier choice, something less problematic than mainstream options. The puffs became a favorite among toddlers for their texture and taste, and parents felt good about offering them. But Consumer Reports testing told a different story, reporting high lead levels in cassava-based toddler puffs, including a Lesser Evil Puffs product, in their public reporting. The same investigation emphasized variability in heavy metals across brands and products within the toddler puff category, showing that some brands had dramatically higher contamination than others. 4. Parents who specifically chose cassava-based products, thinking they were avoiding the arsenic issues associated with rice-based snacks. This testing revealed you just traded one heavy metal problem for another. Lesser Evil's marketing suggested thoughtful ingredient selection and safety, but high lead levels in laboratory testing showed that good intentions don't guarantee safe products. Your toddler loved those puffs, ate them regularly as a convenient snack, and accumulated lead exposure with every handful. 1. Serenity Kids Grain-Free Puffs. Taking the number 1 spot as the absolute worst baby food choice, Serenity Kids Grain-Free Puffs represents the intersection of trendy nutrition marketing and serious safety failures. The brand built its reputation on grain-free, paleo-inspired baby food that appealed to parents following specific dietary philosophies. The cassava-based puffs seemed like the perfect solution for parents avoiding grains, and Serenity Kids charged premium prices that suggested superior quality and safety. But Consumer Reports testing demolished that image, reporting high lead levels in cassava-based toddler puffs, including a Serenity Kids Puffs product, in their public reporting. The same investigation compared multiple toddler puff products and found large differences across brands, with Serenity Kids ranking among the worst offenders for lead contamination. What makes this particularly egregious is that parents chose Serenity Kids specifically because they were trying to make the healthiest possible choice for their babies. You researched grain-free feeding, you paid premium prices, you followed trendy nutrition advice, and you ended up giving your toddler one of the most lead-contaminated snack options available. The grain-free marketing created a health halo that obscured the fundamental safety failure happening with every bag. Your toddler munched these puffs in the stroller, in the car seat, at the playground, accumulating lead exposure while you believed you were making superior nutrition choices. After learning about 15 brands with recall histories, heavy metal contamination, and safety failures, You might feel overwhelmed and worried about what you've already fed your baby. Take a breath. Not every brand operates with the same gaps in testing and quality control. Some companies have made transparency in batch testing their core mission, publishing results you can verify yourself rather than waiting for congressional investigations to reveal internal concerns. The 5 safer baby food brands. Ceribelli starting our safer list at number 5. Ceribelli represents a new generation of baby food companies built specifically to address heavy metal concerns. The brand publishes a lot lookup tool that allows parents to view actual batch test results for arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury for products produced after July 1st, 2024. This isn't marketing language about testing. This is real data you can access yourself. Ceribelli provides a table of test results, organized by lot code, including report dates and comparisons to Proposition 65 reference levels, California's strict standards for toxic chemical exposure. For parents exhausted by trusting brands only to discover recalls and congressional investigations later, this transparency offers something revolutionary: the ability to verify safety before feeding rather than hoping for the best. You can look up the exact pouch in your hand, see when it was tested, and compare the results to establish safety standards. That level of openness suggests a company confident in its quality control and committed to earning trust through evidence rather than marketing claims. 4. Little Spoon. At number 4, Little Spoon built its business model around fresh baby food delivered directly to homes, eliminating the long shelf life requirements that can lead to quality compromises. But what sets Little Spoon apart is their testing commitment. The company states it tests every batch of baby blends for heavy metals including lead, arsenic, mercury, and cadmium. Every batch means no gaps, no random sampling, no hoping quality control catches problems. Little Spoon goes further by stating it partners with Clean Label Project for additional third-party testing, adding external verification to their internal quality control. For parents who've lost faith in baby food companies policing themselves after seeing how internal testing revealed in congressional reports didn't prevent contaminated products from reaching babies, that independent third-party involvement provides crucial reassurance. You're not just trusting Little Spoon's promises, you're trusting an independent organization's verification that those promises are real. The subscription delivery model costs more than buying pouches at the grocery store. But that premium buys testing transparency and third-party verification that traditional brands simply don't offer. 3. Yumi claiming the number 3 spot. Yumi combines fresh ingredients with rigorous third-party verification. The Clean Label Project brand page lists Yumi products with certificates you can actually view and download, providing documentation of their testing and standards compliance. These aren't vague claims about testing somewhere in the supply chain. These are specific certificates tied to specific products. Clean Label Project certificate PDFs exist for Yumi products, providing detailed documentation of testing results and compliance with strict standards for heavy metals and other contaminants. For parents who've been burned by organic labels that didn't prevent lead contamination and premium prices that didn't guarantee safety, Yumi's approach offers something different: verifiable proof that each product line has been independently tested and certified. You can download the actual certificate, read the testing standards, and see for yourself what was tested and what the results showed. That level of documentation transforms baby food shopping from blind trust into informed decision-making. You know what you're getting because independent testing proves it, not because marketing promises it. 2. Amara Organic Food. At number 2, Amara Organic Food takes a unique approach by offering dried whole food blends that parents mix with breast milk, formula, or water. But what earns Amara this ranking is their commitment to independent verification. The Clean Label Project brand page lists Amara products with certificates available for viewing and download, providing parents access to actual testing documentation. Clean Label Project certificate PDFs exist for Amara products, offering detailed compliance information and testing results for heavy metals and contaminants. The dried format eliminates preservative needs and extends shelf life naturally, reducing the processing required compared to traditional jarred or pouched baby food. For parents overwhelmed by choosing between dozens of pouch brands with hidden problems, Amara's combination of simple dried ingredients and third-party testing certification offers clarity and confidence. You're mixing fresh combinations yourself, controlling texture and consistency as your baby develops, and you have independent verification that the dried ingredients you're starting with meet strict safety standards. It's baby food that respects your intelligence and your right to know exactly what you're feeding your child. 1. White Leaf Provisions. Taking the top spot as the absolute best baby food choice, White Leaf Provisions represents the highest standard of transparency and safety in the industry. The Clean Label Project brand page for White Leaf Provisions states that products are tested for heavy metals and lists specific certification and standards, claims that parents can verify. This isn't just about testing existing somewhere. This is about making testing results accessible and understandable. White Leaf Provisions goes even further with their own standards, page describing independent third-party testing for heavy metals by batch, covering lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury. Every batch tested means every pouch you buy has been verified safe before it reached the store shelf. For parents who've spent years trusting brands only to discover congressional investigations, revealing internal concerns, voluntary recalls for elevated lead, and contamination incidents that affected thousands of babies, White Leaf Provisions offers something precious: the ability to trust again, but with verification. You're not blindly hoping this brand is different. You can see documented proof that they test every batch, publish results, and submit to independent third-party verification. That commitment to transparency and batch-level testing represents what every baby food brand should do, but almost none actually deliver. With White Leaf Provisions, you can feed your baby with confidence built on evidence rather than marketing promises and nostalgic brand. Trust that congressional investigations proved was misplaced. There you have it, 15 baby food brands with recall histories, congressional investigation involvement, and documented heavy metal concerns, plus 5 brands that test every batch and publish results you can verify. Before your next shopping trip, remember this: organic labels don't prevent heavy metal contamination, premium prices don't guarantee safety, and the only real protection is transparent batch testing with published results. If this video changed how you'll shop the baby food aisle, share it with every parent who deserves to know what congressional investigations revealed and which brands actually prove their safety claims. Your baby's developing brain depends on the choices you make today, and you deserve information that helps you choose wisely. Thanks for watching, and here's to feeding your baby with confidence built on evidence instead of marketing promises.